You're listening to the Time to Level Up podcast. I'm your host, business life coach Andrea Liebross. I help women in business commit to their own growth personally and professionally. Each week, I'll bring you strategies to help you think clearly, gain confidence, make your time productive, turn every obstacle into an opportunity, and finally overcome the overwhelm so that you can make money and manage life. Let's create a plan so you have a profitable business, successful career, and best of all, live with unapologetic ambition. Are you ready to drop the drama and figure out the how in order to reach your goals? You're in the right place. It's time to level up. Let's do this. Hey, Time to Level Up listeners. Welcome back to this week's episode. So this week, we are going to talk about something that often comes up when I initially talk to a client. And they sometimes say, you know what, I just want to live my passion, or I just want to find my passion. I want to do something that I'm passionate about, fulfilled. And most of my clients, they do come to me liking what they do. I don't work with a bunch of people who are grumpy or who are not wanting to continue on in the field that they're in or living the life that they're living. They're ready to just kind of upgrade, okay, or get to that next level. But this word passion comes into play a lot. So this morning, actually, which is why I'm recording this right now, because it's fresh in my head, I just spent 45 minutes delivering a presentation called Pinpointing Your Passion as part of an organization called Indie Mavens Pursue Your Passion virtual conference. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to sit right down now. It's a Saturday morning, but I'm still going to do it and record this episode because not only is this material fresh in my head, but the comments that came in through the chat box on Zoom are also fresh in my head. And I wanted to share some of that with you. So let's get going. Think about this. If you are someone that has ever said, I just really want to find and do something I'm passionate about, I want you to think about how you're going to feel or how you think you're going to feel when you find it. And one of my mentors, Brooke Castillo, has done a lot of work on this. And I've really been listening to what she said. I've also been listening to some other gurus out there. Lately, I've been doing a lot of listening to Michael Hyatt, who talks about your passion and also what you're proficient at. And I've taken a lot of their material and sort of put it into this podcast with my own spin. But something that is common throughout all of these discussions about passion is feelings. And a lot of times, what is associated with finding your passion is finding happiness, or fulfillment, or purpose, or feeling excited or present. And I would love to toss out to you that is that search of feeling for happy or fulfilled or purposeful really serving you? Okay, is that thought, I am looking for happiness, is that thought really serving you? And could it be potentially that really what you're looking for is not to be happy, but to be feeling alive? So if you are trying to feel alive versus trying to feel happy, two different things. The finding of happy, I think we're robbing ourselves of really living a life where we can expand and grow and evolve. Because we can be happy right now. Remember, our thoughts create our feelings, right? So we can be happy right now if we choose a thought that creates that feeling of happiness, okay? And if you're trying to create this feeling of happiness, it actually is kind of boring. You may be living a pretty boring life. Think back to the Disney princesses, okay? It wasn't until the end that they got to the happily ever after, right? At the very end, they lived all happily ever after. But what kept us reading and watching those movies was the journey they were on, to evolve and to grow. That's what's so interesting about the Disney princesses, not the happily ever after part, okay? So a lot of times I like to say, living in the land of rainbows and unicorns. That's not exciting, the land of rainbows and unicorns. What's exciting and what makes us want to continue the quest is the journey along the way. And if we got right to the end, right to the happily ever after part, okay, and we were stuck in the happily ever after part, we would have no motivation ever to continue to evolve or to change, because we would be just fine. We'd actually be fine with pain or murder or abuse, okay? We'd just be fine because we were happy. We would only be creating thoughts that created happiness. And you can choose those thoughts that create the happiness. You can become a master at choosing thoughts that create happiness, but I think you're missing out, okay? So let's go back to this passion word. Can you really find your passion? Maybe it's not something that you can find. Maybe it's really the feeling you're trying to find. All right. And maybe it's really this feeling of being alive. So if you continue to wait around looking for your passion, waiting around to find this happy, I would like to invite you to start to explore more than finding the happy. I would like you to explore all of the possibilities in your life, all of the nooks and crannies, all of the journeys, all of the challenges, all of the marathons that are unlimited and that really never stop. That's what you're really looking for. Because when you're going into those places, those possibilities, those challenges, those sprints, those marathons, that's when you feel alive. Have you ever noticed that when you're waiting around and not going on the journey, you're waiting around until it's the right time, until things calm down, until COVID is over, until your kids go to school, until it's summer, until it's fall, until it's whatever, until you have enough money, that life is kind of boring and that you're frustrated? Because in the waiting around until you're happy, quote unquote, you're not recognizing all of the life you could be living while you're waiting. Okay. So I would say you shouldn't be waiting, and that you should be seeing what's in front of you right now as amazing. So I think that you are missing out in the process. Okay. Because what comes along with the looking? What comes along with the looking, okay, and not just the waiting, is actually some pain and probably some discomfort and some uncertainty. But it is along those roads when you're feeling discomfort and uncertainty and pain, that's when you feel most alive, right? Because if you go back to thinking about that, our brains and the motivational triad, which I've mentioned before on the podcast, our brains, they just want to feel content and efficient and pain-free. But when they're content and efficient and pain-free, there's no growth. They're just hiding out in the cave. We're like back in the caveman era, and we don't want to go out of the cave into the land of scary where we could get eaten by the bears. We want to hang out, comfy, cozy, but you're not living, right? You're just hanging out in your cave. You're watching Netflix. You're drinking your wine. That's not living. With looking and living comes pain and discomfort and uncertainty. But that's, I think, what you really want. All right, so let's go to this concept of purposeful living. I want to feel purposeful. When I find my passion, I'll feel purposeful. Okay. But listen, I work with a lot of women, and I know, and myself included, that our goal in life is really not, when you think about it, to eliminate negativity and disinterest. It's to live through all the negativity. It's the yin and the yang. And I would say that our purpose, and when we feel purposeful, it's to use this contrast, the yin and the yang, the yes and the no, the positive and the negative, the good and the bad, and balance it in order to evolve into that next best version of ourselves, and to continue to build upon each version and experience, to make the difficult decisions, to keep moving forward through the good and the bad and the ebb and the flow, okay? To keep moving through the discomfort. That's our purpose. That's when we find our greatness. So if you think about the word passion and think about it as a noun, it's pretty static. But what if we used the word passion and turned it into a verb? And we thought about it as being willing to continue or flow through continuous discovery and live the human experience. What if we made it into a verb and it was like passionating, to passion? I'm in the process of passionating. All right. So I want to find my passion, which we kind of talk about a little bit in episode 3. Be careful to not just default to when I find it, I'll be happy then. I want you to know that you can find happiness in the process of looking for your passion. If you embrace passion as a verb, as passionating. And this goes back to knowing that happiness is really just a few thoughts away, right? because it's our thoughts that create the happy. And you can be happy or alive even in the discomfort, even in the uneasy, even in the challenges as you continue to create and live as part of the human experience. So to passion, this requires you to bring you and all of you to the table, the unique you, your unique experiences, your unique brain, your knowledge, your thoughts, your intuition, your curiosity, your creativity. And this is something that only you can bring, no one else. And if you're content just finding happy and watching Netflix and drinking wine, okay, then the rest of the world is going to miss out on your passionating, your creativity, your curiosity. And that, my friends, is when you'll miss contributing to the world, which is ultimately what we want to do when we say, I want to find my passion. So you don't want to find it and arrive. You want to continue to find things and to look and to passionate. That's what you really want to do. But if you keep focusing on arriving at the passion, you will not give yourself the chance to bring it. Bring all of you, and will miss out on receiving it. So contributing to the world with living your passion, well, I want to go back to that you must contribute to the world by living the experience of finding your passion or passionating. And it seems intimidating, and we can internalize it that we must have something original, which a lot of women do. They think they need to have something original, some creation, something different. And that if you don't have something original or different or do things, quote unquote, your way, then you're going to be a disappointment. And that's overwhelming. All right. But what if we looked at this just by the fact of you showing up and listening to a podcast like this and living and being willing to feel the rainbow of feelings or the array of feelings. And by passionating, by putting yourself out there, that's the way in which you can be seen by the world. Okay. So a lot of times too, people will say to us, hey, how's that thing going? How's that photography business going? How's that coaching thing going? And it's kind of demeaning, right? People will assume like, well, they haven't arrived yet. They haven't gotten there. So, so far they're a failure. But what if you challenged them and said, you know what? I'm in the process of continuing to strive through growth, to evolve. And that's what I'm really loving. That's what I'm loving. So you don't really want me to arrive at the end and put my flag in it. You want me to continue to evolve and grow because that's when I'm bringing my best self into the world. So if you zoom in on the act of creating and discovering and working through the good and the bad, that's what makes you come alive. It's not the arriving at the happiness, okay? It's not the putting your flag in it. It's not what you're seeking. What you're really seeking is the journey. And all those other people in the world who are waiting for you to quote unquote arrive and put your flag in it, they're missing out on seeing all of the goodness in you as you work through the process. Okay, so I have clients that come to me and say, I want to build a business, or I've built a business and I want to get to that next level because I think I'll be happier there at that next level. And I tell them that they have a problem. They're in for a rude awakening because as you're building your business, as you're building your career, happiness is not the most useful emotion to be looking for. The most useful emotions to be looking for are determination and motivation and discipline and willingness and desire. If you are okay in those feelings, then you're doing your best work. So I want you to ask you, what are you really longing for? Are you having a longing for growth so much that you are willing to commit to growth? And, that's what I named my group coaching program, Committed to Growth, because it's the willingness to be uncomfortable through the growth and see failure as the stepping stone to success. That's what you want. Happiness is not the stepping stone to success. It's not what comes when you arrive at the success. It's not even content or fulfilled or purposeful either. Okay. I always say to my clients who have been willing to put themselves out there, haven't you found happiness in the pain, in the challenge, in the struggle? They've figured out how to find that happiness in the process, to understand that the pain and the discomfort and the grind and the world is the happiest thing they could be doing because they're passionate about being alive. Okay. So what if you could find that committing to evolving is really what you're passionate about? Because ultimately, when you are committed to evolving, committed to continuing to flow and move and grow, that's when you're at your best. There's no such thing as arrived at the passion. Okay. So passionating is very different than arriving at the passion. It's very different than feeling happy. Remember, we could get happy probably from a drink with an umbrella in it on a beach. Okay. It's really not the drink with the umbrella in it on the beach. It's the looking at the ocean. It's the how you planned the trip and got there. Okay. It's not being at the concert. It's the listening to the music and being with the people you're with. It's not the going out to dinner. It's the company that you have at the dinner. Those are all the things that you really want. Notice it's not the thing, it's not the noun, it's the experience, it's the feeling of being in that space. That's what you're really looking for. You're committing to evolving through those experiences. We can be happy doing all that stuff, drinking the drink and being at the concert. But I'm really just as happy thinking about the quest of getting there and the vulnerability of putting myself out there at the dinner table to have the conversation, of working through the doubt and the shame and the pain that we don't often want to face because we're human, in creating the business, not in arriving at the business. Okay. So could it be that living with unapologetic ambition is what you really want? There's happy in being human with living with unapologetic ambition, not apologizing for taking risks or for using your time as you want or from being ambitious and trying new things, of exposing ourselves and showing up with all the baggage of being unapologetic. Okay. And of using that unapologetic ambition to continue to grow and evolve, seeing that as the fuel that is really what you are contributing to the world. Okay, that's enough. It's not the arriving, it's the process. That's your contribution to the world. So then we can ask ourselves that whole question, like, are you enough? And I want you to notice that you, not what you produce, is in the question, are you enough? Okay, you, what you're experiencing and feeling and being is enough. It is not the flag on top of the mountain that makes you enough, or even arriving at the top of the mountain that makes you enough. There is nothing wrong with you continuing on journeys, to striving for more, to living, okay? But what happens if our only goal is to get to the top, to keep going and searching for the wrong reasons so that we can put the flag in? That's when we exhaust ourselves and think that we have never found what we're looking for. That kind of searching is not sustainable because you're really denying yourself of the happiness that can be found along the way. So what happens when you arrive at your passion? Let's go back to that. Well, I'm going to tell you that there is no arriving, okay? There is no happily ever after. There's no achievement. The arrival at happy and content is because our brain, our thinking changes. It's because our mind changes and we learn to manage our minds. Managing your mind is really the key to exponential growth, which is really what we want. So all you really have to do is manage your mind, and you will find that you're okay with passionating, not finding and arriving at your passion. Okay, so think back to Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. And I was Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz when I was in 5th grade. So I've always had a little place in my heart for that story. And there's a spot in the movie where Dorothy and Glinda the Good Witch are there. And Dorothy asks Glinda, "Can you help me get back home to Kansas?" And Glinda tells Dorothy that she has always had the power within. She says, "You've always had the power, my dear. You just had to learn it for yourself." So I want to tell you that if you're like me, and you probably are if you're listening to this podcast, that there is a little Dorothy in you, that your passion is not on the other side of the rainbow. It is within you right now. You have found your passion, and your passion is to grow and to learn. It's a yearning inside you for more, for growth, for movement, for flow, for being alive. It's aliveness. You really want to go from being content from letting go of the quest for happiness. What you really want is to be uncomfortable enough to be okay with committing to continuing to evolve to get to that next level. And that is already in you. Okay. So I invite you to consider, if you were committed to passionating, what would that feel like? What would that look like? And becoming involved in your own growth. Like today, these women that got on this conference at 10 a.m. on a Saturday, okay? That was just one way that their brain was seeking support for passionating. When you show up as supported in the passionating, you open up to your full emotional capacity, to all the feelings in the rainbow. And when you're willing to experience every emotion, it is then that you become even more willing to experience everything in front of you. And when you do that, that's when your life becomes bigger, and you might say more fulfilling. And you become the next version of yourself. So you can find joy in the person you are right now, in the happy. You can find happy in the person you are right now if you accept that it may not look perfect, that it may look uncomfortable and painful and time consuming. But in doing so, you will find out really what you're made of. And you may not be afraid of thinking that you're made for more. You will find joy in being the person you are right now who is continuing to grow. Okay. So you don't need to continue to look with the goal of arriving. You have an amazing life right now if you are okay with living it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, to its fullest, and for showing up in it. The world is not perfect on purpose. Okay. The world is full of contrast on purpose. So we can evolve within ourselves, just like Dorothy did, and we can find so much happiness in the journey down the yellow brick road, just like Dorothy did. She evolved, right? That's what made The Wizard of Oz such a great story. That's what made it so magical. It was not the happily ever after when she got back to Kansas. We don't even remember that, okay? We don't remember when she arrived back in Kansas. We remember all the other parts of the movie. So when you put yourself out there and when you're willing to grow and evolve and go on journeys, that is what has the effect of growing the world. Not arriving at the passion, it's the passionating. So I invite you to take the risk and be okay with the growth. And I invite you to get support as you grow. There's nothing wrong with that. She had with her a team. She had the Scarecrow and the Cowardly Lion, okay? She had the Tin Man. She took all those people along with her on her journey so that she could support herself in the quest. So who's on your team? Who's your Cowardly Lion and Scarecrow and Tin Man? Who are they? Who's coming with you on the journey? And all those people that keep asking you if you've arrived, you don't want them. They're kind of disappointing, kind of like the Wizard of Oz himself was a little disappointing, right? When she pulled back the curtain, he was a super disappointment. It was the people that came along with her on the journey. That's who she wanted to be with. So who's on your team? Who's going with you on the yellow brick road? And are you willing to walk along the yellow brick road? I want you to know that I would be happy to come with you on the yellow brick road. I would be happy to support you because this is what I've found. I am happiest when I am continuing to evolve, when I am continuing to do new things, when I am continuing to see the good with the bad, the yin and the yang, the positive and the negative, the painful, the not painful, the comfortable, the uncomfortable. That's when I'm at my best. That's when I'm putting my best out into the world, when I am passionating. So my friends, go forth. Go down your yellow brick road. Ask yourself, who is with you? If you want me to come with you, reach out. It is worth a phone call. Be courageous and ask people to come with you. Be courageous and recognize that there doesn't have to be a crisis in order to seek help. And you don't have to wait to be looking for your passion until it's the perfect time because you're missing out. You don't have to put off things. You can do it right now. And if you're just living life to its fullest, you are enough right now with everything that's already within you and around you. Okay, that was super philosophical today, but it is something that I am passionate about and sharing. We want to use that word. So pay attention. Too many women are literally waiting. And that's what I do. As they wait and wait, their brains are withering away, like watching too much Netflix and drinking too much wine or consuming too much social media and comparing and despairing. Okay, so get curious, create. Your creativity and your curiosity is calling you to stand up and start dancing. Go back to the podcast I did with Michelle Capizzi where she talks about dancing. I think it's bonus episode 2. Okay, go back, listen. So you're invited to stop trying to find your passion and to start pursuing your aliveness, to start passionating. No one else can tell you what to do. I could not create this podcast. I could not do it and tell you what to do. It's your journey, right? So stop telling yourself you don't know what to do. You're not sure. You do know what to do. You do know that you want to be alive. You want to commit to growth. You want to evolve. That is the beauty of life. And I'm here to do it with you. Okay, my friends, I'm here for you. I would love to have a conversation. Head over to my website, schedule a call. Let's chat. That call in and of itself is worth $1 million when you can have someone with you discussing how you want to grow, how you want to evolve, how you want to find what it's like to passionate. And that call is at no cost to you. I'd love to chat with you. It's what makes my heart beat. Have a great week. I will be back next week with more goodness. Talk to you soon. Hey, I am back. I just wanted to add in here that I have created a freebie to go along with this episode on finding your passion. So head over to AndreaLiebross.com/find your passion, all one word, and download it today. Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you're ready to commit to personal and professional growth, move forward, make money, and manage life, head to AndreaLiebross.com. That's AndreaLiebross.com to find out about the ways we can work together. Until next time, go level up.